Okay, so yeah, huge thank you to everyone for inviting me um, to present. I mean, yeah, massive thank you to Daniel and everyone for coming. Like, this is amazing.
You're
Yeah,
welcome,
so
Sam.
GiveTree here, um, we can see actually in the background of all the slides is actually the GiveTree world that we've built. We've built in Unreal Engine, and the idea is that we're building this open metaverse world in Unreal Engine, and then we're going to build it around an NFT marketplace. And what we're trying to do is build like a really, really nice looking world. And then what we're trying to do is where I guess well, I should probably go through it in. Can I go next slide, please? And I'll try and go through in the slides order. Yeah. So in this slide, so I guess yeah, I just want to quickly kind of like talk a little bit about what is GiveTree and sort of the vision that we've got as well, I guess, for the future
Hello,
of what we
hello.
think. Hello.
We can't hear you at the back, so can you pick up the mic?
Oh, okay. Okay. Should I come closer forward, maybe to the
Oh, I can
crowd,
hear you
closer to
now.
the? Okay. Okay.
N- No, no. You can take up the mic, I guess, and then we should hear you.
Is that a bit better or?
Yeah. We hear you better. Yes, great.
Yeah,
Much
that's
better.
better.
Okay. Okay.
Good job.
Yeah. So this is the at the heart of our map is the give tree. And it's this idea, the law that we've sort of written around it is that well, actually, I should probably try and go in order. Can I go next slide, please? Next slide.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is the order I wanted to go in. Sorry. How it all started was three years ago. I was actually in a very different position. I was living in an internet cafe for about 10 months because I was homeless. I'd gone from a six-figure salary to a no-figure salary within the space of just a few months after a few things had gone wrong in my personal life, and then I'd reacted pretty badly to those and spent a whole bunch of money and picked up an addiction problem and a mental health problem. And then all of a sudden, one day I was sort of sitting with one bag on a bench looking back at the apartment that I used to rent, wondering to myself if I was homeless for the first time. And then I was, and ended up spending the next 10 months in an internet cafe. And during that time, basically, I was pretty reliant on charities. So the government solution here in Sydney was to put me in a hotel for 28 days, and you had to get reapproved every 2 days, and they would send you to a different hotel on the other side of the city, and it's kind of how that worked. And then once the 28 days were done, that was it. You could apply for social housing, but that would take 6 months to get in. And so, yeah, uh, the internet cafe was a good option. It was like safe, it was warm-ish most of the time, which is good. And I just sort of hung out in there and played a lot of League of Legends and you know that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a tough time. And then basically, I don't know if anyone in Australia knows, sorry, anyone in the room knows about the rules in Australia, but we have this thing called superannuation, which is kind of like the government forces you to save 10% of your income. And then when you turn 60 years old, you can access that 10% of your income. You can access it. And the idea is that it's like a retirement fund for you. And you can't touch that money unless there's an emergency. And so you have to sort of prove to the government that there's an emergency to access that money. And so the only way you can prove to the government that you're homeless and that it's an emergency and that you sort of urgently need those funds is if you've been on welfare for 6 months. So I sort of had to live in that internet cafe for 6 months, looking at this superannuation in my bank account that I wasn't allowed to touch, wasn't allowed to use, until I'd been on welfare for 6 months. And then, yeah, in June 2019, I was able to use some of that money to rent a room. when I was finally allowed to access emergency access to my superannuation. And so I rented a room, and that solved the shelter problem. But it didn't solve like the addiction problem and the mental health stuff. That took a lot longer. Yeah, I lived in North Bondi in that room from June 2019 until February 2020 when I moved to South Cronulla in Sydney. And basically, I was drinking so much at that point, like 30 standard drinks a day, that by April, the drinking had taken its toll on my body. Like I'd been drinking quite a lot for quite a long time. And in April 2020, 2 months after I'd moved to South Cronulla, I had a brain seizure and I went to hospital for a week and nearly died. And the IV flushed out my system. And then I've been sober since then. And then that same week, we started working with our first charity partners officially. And basically, yeah, the last 3 years, I've now worked with over 80 different charities, small, medium, large, very large. I've looked at over 30 different types of donations. So this was when I started looking at like donations as different types of markets. And then late last year, I started looking at cryptocurrency and I started looking at NFTs. And I decided to go from a sort of a platform with GiveTree of like a donate anything to charity in one place to sort of more becoming like what would happen if we just sort of focused on Web3 stuff. And yeah, sort of pivoted into becoming Australia's first social impact NFT marketplace. And the idea was that basically we wanted a percentage of every transaction to go to one of the charity partners. And that would be the first time that an NFT marketplace had worked that way, in Australia at least. And then I linked up with some really cool people, and they started helping me make a virtual gaming world, which was really epic. And then we realized when people started reacting to the game really positively, we realized that actually the game is the main thing. So we're going to focus on the game, and then the NFT marketplace will just be a feature of that. Then at the start of January this year, when I started getting calls from some of the charities that we'd been working with for years saying, actually, we don't want to work with Web3. We don't want to do that. So we're just take us off the site. We don't want to do that. When that started happening, basically, I realized that we don't want to limit ourselves to just charities. We also want to work with people and groups that are trying to solve problems that people care about and that people want to actually solve. And so I came up with the term impact partners. And now we're going to be helping not just charities, but also DAOs and for-profit, for-purpose groups as well. So an impact partner can now include DAOs, charities, and for-profit, for-purpose groups, because basically what I realized is that fundamentally, like why people are donating to a charity is because they want to solve a problem. And that's a problem that's important to them. And so obviously I'm not talking about people who are donating for tax. I'm talking about people who are donating to solve a problem they care about. And if that's the case, then my opinion is that basically charities and government are not doing a great job at actually providing clarity around what money is being used for to achieve solutions. And so I think basically there's an opportunity to provide better roadmaps to solutions. And I think that Web3 is actually going to enable that to start happening more and more and more. And I think that DAOs will start to sort of take over. I know there's a lot of work to do, but I think that Web3 is really going to underpin this movement toward people wanting actual solutions to problems. And I think what's going to happen is basically it's like whichever person or group can provide that solution is that's where the resources are going to start to flow. And yeah, so that's kind of how it all started. Can I go to next slide, please? Okay, and then so I guess that's kind of a nice segue to like where we are now. So like where we are now is where we're realizing that we've got this virtual marketplace. This virtual metaverse world. We've got this virtual world in Unreal Engine. We've got this NFT marketplace. We've got a huge list of impact partners across charities and DAOs and for-profit groups that are for purpose. Then on the other side, we've got the community. So we've got creators, people who are like artists or musicians or videographers. And these people are like wanting to create. They're wanting to do stuff and things that they enjoy. And this creator economy that's being enabled by this sort of technology, it's really exciting, because now GiveTree can actually help creators to come into a world and bring their creations to life. So we're working already with a large number of NFT creators who've successfully sold NFT collections for millions of dollars in some cases. And they've got thousands, tens of thousands of people in their Discord community in some cases. And what they've got in their product roadmaps, which seems to be consistent across NFT collections, is they usually build in a game into their roadmap. Like in the future, they're building in a game. But I think that a lot of NFT collections are going to struggle to actually realize that game, because building a game takes a lot of people, takes a lot of resource, takes a lot of time and this sort of thing. And I think that it's going to be difficult to put those sorts of teams together on that sort of small to mid-range sort of level and achieve that sort of same quality outcome that they're hoping to achieve. And I think that's going to be because there's going to be a talent shortage. So all the good talent is going to either be working on their own projects, or they're going to be getting really good salaries at really big studios. And I think it's going to be difficult to do that sort of like smaller to mid-range projects. Also, we noticed a trend where everyone is leaning toward like Unity and this sort of thing, because that's where the on-chain stuff is at the moment. And I guess they're sacrificing quality in order to go onto those sorts of engines at the moment. But what we're trying to do is, I guess, create something in Unreal that looks really nice, that you could see yourself living in for a long period of time. Because what was coming up with our NFT creators was that they didn't actually like how things were looking in other worlds that were in Unity. They didn't actually like how it was coming out. And the way that they'd envisioned their creations coming to life was much better, much more like what Unreal can help them do. So for us, it was easy choice to stay with Unreal. Basically, we've already started modeling some of our first 2D NFT collection characters and started modeling them as 3D characters and started bringing them into the GiveTree world. So our goal is to sort of help NFT collection creators create a community within the GiveTree world. So our goal is not to be like the GiveTree community. Our goal is to be like the GiveTree community of communities. So we're really aiming to make a platform where somebody can come and actually have like the ability to create their own little community, create their own business for their community if they need to generate income streams for their characters and this sort of thing. We kind of want to enable that. We'd like to enable like open source and creativity, and really sort of unleash creativity as much as we can. And I think so. What's driving the whole project is that what we're trying to achieve is the first ever play to give game. So you hear a lot about like play to earn and play to learn and this sort of stuff, but we're trying to achieve play to give. And what I mean by that is that every single digital transaction within the GiveTree world is going to have a real world outcome. Like it's going to have a real world outcome, and that's kind of the goal. Yeah, and then can I have next slide, please? Yeah, so I guess like our vision for the future is we see potential for like a really interesting future, and it's basically because of Web3. So when you talk about like the effect that blockchain technology is going to have on the world, and cryptocurrency and NFTs and DAOs, like all of these applications being built on the blockchains, I think you're talking about disrupting basically everything we've ever known, because you're taking away some of the fundamental structures and processes from large groups of people, and that's going to force them to do things differently. And I think that's what you're seeing with DAOs, right? You're seeing a motivation and an intent of people to come together and try and do things differently. I think like what's underpinning that is that people do have this desire for solutions. There's seems to be a lot of problems in the world, and I think that people want to solve those problems, which is why people are coming together and forming these new groups around DAOs and trying to think more creatively about how they can collaborate together and what they can do to do better than than what's currently happening. And I think that that's very threatening for a lot of the established sort of structure and process. And yeah, I guess like our vision for the future is an open.
I see someone has a question.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, Yuri. We have a question, Jurjen.
Apologies, I clicked that by accident. Apologies.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right. So continue, Sam.
Yeah, cool. So I guess our vision for the future is that we can start to do things using Web3 technology in a new way. So, for example, we're planning to work with quite a large group, educational group, and the idea is that we're going to build a campus in the world, and then from that campus, just much like this room, they'll be able to run lessons and on different topics, and then they can distribute those lessons all across the world, across borders, very, very easily, very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden, it's like you've just disrupted education and you've made it so much easier for people to come in and learn and this sort of thing. I mean, I think it's like, I just think it's really interesting because, you know, we've got charity partners that have gone into hospitals and given gaming consoles and stuff to kids who are like terminally ill and kids who are suffering from like a very, very serious illnesses. And what's happened is like from the data that they've gathered on that is that when they've given the consoles to these kids and given them something to do, basically the results have actually improved for them. So I guess it's an opportunity if you think about it like that. You know, if somebody who's in a hospital lying in a bed all day can go into a virtual world and actually spend a day in a virtual world instead of spending a day in a hospital room. I mean, obviously that's going to be better for them than sitting in a bed, you know, like not doing that, I guess. It's kind of a depressing environment sometimes in that sort of situation. And I think what a virtual world can help them do is much, much more than that. There's the social aspect of it alone, it will be really helpful, I think. But yeah, I guess our vision is to try and enable like as much of this sort of stuff as possible. We'd like for Unreal to become an on-chain sort of thing eventually. We'd like for it to become on-chain. We'd like to help with that process. We'd like to be able to have people jump between different worlds easily, and we'd like for people to be able to change between different blockchains easily. We'd like for all of these things to happen. And I guess that like the bigger vision is there for everyone. Everyone can see a bigger vision, but I guess there's these practical steps that we've all got to take to try and achieve that larger vision. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just taking the small practical steps now to try and achieve that larger vision, which it all starts with stuff like integration of ReadyPlayer.me into Unreal Engine is where we're starting with stuff like that. So yeah, I guess, you know, that's probably it for us. Can I have next slide? I think that's pretty much it for my slides, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
All
That's pretty
right.
much
Thank you, Sam. So you also have a video. Yeah, I can try to show the video. I'm nice.
Yeah, so you can see here we've done our Ready Player Me integration. So you can see Linus is walking through, and then yeah, in the distance there you can see the home tree, which is kind of the law that I wrote for the realm. Is that in the 21st century, the Earth is dying, and actually there are 13 trees of life, and 12 of them have already died, and the only one left is the GiveTree. And actually with its last energy, its last sort of life force, it's cast a spell and produced 12 new seeds of life. And the idea is that we need 12 brave humans to venture into the realm, find the seeds, replant the seeds, and save the world. And we'll be releasing 12 one of one NFTs that we're going to put onto the layer 1 Ethereum blockchain. and each of those will actually have the utility of if you get one of those, you can come into this world and you can help us pick the spot you want to plant it. You can help us design it, and you can help us basically do a whole bunch of things with that. And it's going to be very. The 12 trees come from real world folklore. So you, for example, the ash tree is from Viking mythology and that sort of thing. So it's really interesting. And yeah.
Wow, very creative. I love your story, Sam. I'm very happy that you joined today and give this keynote. It's a big round of applause for Sam Jewell.
Thanks.
So so I love your presentation. I was wondering, Sam. So you say you have a team you're working with on this project. So how big is your team?
Yeah, so there's almost 20 of us now, which is getting quite a large team almost now. It's in the last few weeks we've had some really interesting people come on. We've had some security engineers come on, from their full-time job is at like Google, for example, and they've been offered jobs with layer 2s before, but for some reason the GiveTree project is having a lot of appeal to them. Then we've got like our amazing game development team who's really talented, and they're from Sydney-based game development company Blind Chihuahua. And there's amazing Paula Jones running Blind Chihuahua, and then there's Linus, and there's Brittany, and there's Lakerba. They're doing a really good job. Yeah, and then we've got our onshore guys here. We've got a guy who's coming from quite a large marketplace. He's coming on as our CTO, which he just got green lighted this week. That it's not breaching his current employment contract, so he's come on board, which is great news. And yeah, then we've got a few developers here on shore, helping with all the Web 2 stuff. We've got some really amazing partnerships that we've done, which are really helpful. Huge fan of the work that Venly is doing. We're working closely with Venly. Then we've actually teamed up with a group here in Australia, some local Sydney guys here with us that are helping with some custodial wallet stuff for charities, which is going to be very helpful for them in solving the problem of like who within the charity is actually going to be managing this thing. It's a big hurdle for them. Then we've got some offshore guys that we've been employing since March. We've got a professional videographer. We've got an accountant who owns his own accounting firm here. We've got a solicitor who owns his own commercial law firm here. We've got a team of really amazing advisors. We're just the team keeps growing and it's exciting.
It's exciting, man. So it's a big change from 2 years ago, right? So I find it very inspiring that you climbed your way out of your, you came from a dark a dark place basically, and look at where you are today. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
very
It's good to
inspiring.
be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
So-
And thanks for everyone for coming and listening. Amazing.
Yeah. So I was wondering. So I love the term, by the way, of play to give. I I love that. So can you give an example of how that would work? Like if I go to the GiveTree Metaverse, how can I, what would be an example of play to give?
Yeah. So let's say when we eventually enable on-chain real estate sales, and let's say you want to buy a plot of land, maybe that plot of land is basically, in order to buy that plot of land, you would have to select an impact partner, and maybe those impact partners are themed around real estate or around homelessness or around women's shelters or this sort of thing. And when you purchase that, obviously a percentage is going to go to that impact partner and directly solve that problem. So the idea is that in order to do anything in the game, in order to level up or in order to go and discover new lands or form a new tribe or all these sorts of things, anything you're doing is having an impact. But maybe a more practical example is, for example, we're working with a charity called Half Cut here in Australia. And what Half Cut do is they protect a rainforest here in Australia called the Daintree Rainforest. And they recently discovered a rainbow fish in the Daintree Rainforest that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. And so what we're doing with them is we're modeling that rainbow fish with them, and we're bringing it into the GiveTree world. And so whenever somebody is coming into this particular part of the map, it's going to look a little bit like the Daintree Rainforest. Well, it's going to look exactly like the Daintree Rainforest, actually. But anyway, it's going to look like Daintree Rainforest. And this rainbow fish is going to be there. And so there's an opportunity to then introduce stuff like play to learn or play to earn or play to give. And you can introduce within these environments or these communities that these creators or these charities actually own within the GiveTree world. So it's theirs, it belongs to them. You can introduce these games so that when people are coming in, if they're interacting with your community within the GiveTree world, and they're interacting with your, and they're playing your games, then a percentage of that is going to you. It's making an impact. It's helping you continue to discover new rainbow fish in the Daintree Rainforest. It's helping you buy back plots of land in the Daintree Rainforest and stop them from being cut down. It's helping you protect the Daintree Rainforest by going into this virtual world and learning about the rainbow fish in the Daintree Rainforest community area. It's another example is
Wow.
we're working. There's a few charities here in Australia where they do like memorial flowers and this sort of thing for people. There's an opportunity for us to do that in the game, which is really exciting. And
Cool. That's great. Yeah, great. Great answer. So,
Yeah.
cool. I had a question. Or maybe there's some question in the audience. So, curious to hear what do you guys think, or what? Yeah, do you have questions for Sam?
Yeah.
Sam, when do you think GiveTree will be a world that we can actually come into? When will it be available to access?
Access we should have ready for everyone in the Discord by next week or the week after that. And then we'll be doing like in-game events and that sort of stuff and trying to get everyone in there for the first time. We won't publicly launch the product until probably April, but hopefully everyone in the Discord community can come and check it out with us between now and then. So pretty soon.
Wow, that's exciting. So, is there a possibility that we can also have like experience in the GiveTree world? With the Metaverse Exploring Group.
Yeah, why not? That's such a good idea. Yeah, we should do that. Everyone in this room is officially in the Metaverse Exploring Group.
Yay! Great, nice. I'm very much looking forward to that.